Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Sciortino. I'm the state representative from the 34th Middlesex District and one of the 4 co-lead sponsors of the Transgender Equal Rights Bill, and here to ask your favorable report of this bill. This is the 6th year we've been working on this legislation, and I want to share with you, going back 6 years ago, why I filed the bill in the first place. Every year, the transgender community across the world has a day of remembrance in November called the Transgender Day of Remembrance. I've gone to this event every year since I've been elected in office. Every year, the community in Boston and around the world comes together and honors and mourns their dead. This is a tradition that has happened for over 10 years because of the murder of Rita Hester in Boston, and the following year a candlelight vigil has created this tradition of a community coming together to honor the dead of the community that has suffered violent deaths around the world, including right here in Massachusetts. And I want you to just take a moment to think about what it means to be a member of a minority community that right here in Massachusetts today, in the 21st century, faces daily assaults, daily violence, and daily discrimination in the areas of employment and housing and every facet of life that you hear more about today. That community recognizes that history and that experience every year at the Transgender Day of Remembrance and calls us to take action, calls us to stand up for their basic equal rights under the laws of Massachusetts. I want to read to you very briefly the names of several members of the Massachusetts community who have been murdered since they've been able to track records for the transgender community since the 1970s. In 1979, an unknown man was murdered in Boston. In 1986, Monique Rogers was drowned in Boston. These are all murders because of their transgender gender identity status. Monique Rogers in 1986 was drowned. Diane Carter in 1986 was shot and killed in Boston. Deborah Forte in Haverhill was beaten and stabbed with a multiple 6-inch stab wounds, any one of which could have killed her. That's in 1995. Chanel Pickett in Watertown in 1995 was strangled and suffered a beating that left her face terribly bruised and bloody. Monique Thomas, a.k.a. Rufus Thomas, in Dorchester, Massachusetts, murdered in 1998. Rita Hester, as I mentioned, in Boston, 1998, multiple stab wounds, a murder which remains unsolved. And Lisa Daniels in Dorchester, 2005, shot 17 times below the waist. This is a community that faces not only these kinds of horrific violent deaths at times, unfortunately, but the daily experience of having employers say, I won't hire you, when they are forced to out themselves when they're applying for a job and filling out query forms and filling out paperwork. This is a community that faces daily experiences of landlords saying, I will not rent my apartment to you because of your gender identity. This is a community that looks for any glimmer of hope and hangs on to those examples of members of the community that do survive, that do succeed. And there are many wonderful examples here in the room right now of thriving, hardworking, passionate, wonderful people that contribute to our communities in Massachusetts who are seeking nothing more and nothing less than the basic equal rights that we all take for granted every single day. Despite what you'll hear from our opponents, the bill is very simple. It does one thing. It adds gender identity and expression to our existing civil rights laws in the areas of employment, housing, credit, public accommodations, and education, as well as amending our hate crimes laws. I urge your favorable report of this bill. Thank you.